Hello everyone and welcome to Season 5, Episode 11 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in NXT history with match number 40 on our list, which is the NXT North America title match between the champion Johnny Gargano and the challenger KUSHIDA from the NXT TakeOver Vengeance Day event held on February the 14th, 2021. So this is the most recent match that there will be on our countdown. It is from February of 2021, so less than a year ago. I've made comments on it before, but my interest in NXT really kind of started to go down throughout 2020, especially through that COVID era, and throughout 2021 until eventually we would get to the launch of NXT 2.0. This match, though, was definitely the big highlight of the later run NXT. I talked about this a little bit in the Hideo Itami and Bobby Roode video about, Kenta, Hideo Itami kind of feeling a little out of place in the WWE and never really finding his groove. And that's how Kushida really felt to me as well. Kushida came in from New Japan, had a bunch of buzz to him, and he never really seemed to fit. He ended up getting this big match, which thankfully it's phenomenal. This match is really, really, really good. And coming out of this, he would get a title victory. He would get the NXT Cruiserweight Championship, but ultimately he would lose that pretty quickly to Roderick Strong, and then he would suffer an injury. So I hope for his sake that he's able to bounce back from that injury, and it doesn't plague him much like it did to Kenta. And that he can, continue to be successful in the WWE, but he does feel like someone that, big fish in a small pond, in New Japan, and coming to the WWE, he just basically becomes another guy on that roster, like Akira Tozawa, or, unfortunately so many of these excellent Japanese wrestlers that we've seen brought over that don't really amount to too much. This match, though, is so excellent, and it's just... So Johnny Gargano at this point, had almost started to feel like a little bit of a parody. And, you have a lot of people that really like the stuff that he did with The Way, his stable with Candice LeRae and Austin Theory and Indy Hartwell. And that's, fine if you liked it. But, he's such a good wrestler and he meant so much to NXT overall, that I felt that, they did that nonsensical heel turn that I've talked about, at the TakeOver Portland event. Put him back in, that terrible feud closer with Tommaso Ciampa. And then they made him this kind of goofy heel, and they had him lose the belt in the fluke to, they gave him the North American title. They had him lose the belt in the fluke to Leon Ruff. Win it back. The whole thing really didn't work at all for me. Ultimately they would kind of rebounded a little bit when you started to just take it in stride with him being this comedy character. But, overall, that's not the type of wrestling that I really, really enjoy. And I think he's so much better than that. At the time this video was recorded, we don't really know what his future will hold. Once his child's born, will he, resign with the WWE and maybe get a main roster spot? I don't know. If he does, I don't know how successful he's going to be. To be quite honest, I don't trust, the WWE to utilize any wrestler well ever anymore. I think that maybe he'd do better in AEW, maybe, that's, selfishly maybe where I'd like to see him, in the wrestling company, if you want to call them that, but we'll see. But this match, it came at a time that was really needed for him, to show that, he could really still go. He could still be that, that Johnny Takeover guy, that he claims to be. And like I said, this was a great match for Kushida. And this match, kudos to Johnny Gargano, I'll say, for going all out and making Kushida look good. Johnny does not get a ton of offense in this match. It's not a squash by any means. The match almost runs a half an hour. But, he really gives up a lot to really make Kushida look better than he had, in his entire WWE run up until this point combined. And they do that with just a really good story. And, we've had a couple matches, already in this countdown that really revolve around guys going for their finishers and making mistakes and things like that. And this fits that theme. So that tells me that's really like a match, story that I really appreciate, because I seem to really highly value matches of that nature. But again, right off the hop, Kushida goes for the hoverboard lock, that Kimura that he does as his finish. Johnny immediately scrambles for the ropes. And the story that they establish here is that Johnny Gargano is a great wrestler. All right, he can out wrestle a lot of guys on the mat. He can out quick, be a lot speedier than a lot of wrestlers. And, we talked about that in his match at TakeOver Brooklyn with Andrade, where that was, the early story that they set. But the story here is that Kushida is better than him in every conceivable way. He's faster than him. He's better on the mat. And he has an answer for everything that Johnny does through this entire match outside of little blips. But ultimately, those little blips are what, makes Johnny Gargano's match work out for him. So they do really great mat work at the start. And Kushida is great just constantly going to try to grab that Kimura, and Gargano having to find clever ways to get out of it and not allow himself to be put in it. Kushida has a counter for everything. And at one point early on, he even gets Johnny in the Gargano escape, which I loved, because it basically shows, like, I even know how to do your own hold, and I can slap it on you, the person that's supposed to be the master of it. But Gargano, takes the match out to the floor, tries to use his cunning, heelish ways, and he uses the steps, but he goes kind of for like a labored, vertical suplex on the floor. He takes too much time. Kushida has a counter for that. He turns it into a Falcon Arrow on the floor, grabs the cross arm breaker. Unfortunately, he can't hold it on for too long to completely debilitate Johnny's arm because he has to go in to break the count. But then he comes back out and he gets a hammerlock vertical suplex on the floor. And from there, he just goes to town on Johnny's arm. He focuses all of his offense there, trying to grab that Kimura. But even like the strikes, like he's throwing elbows and stuff all to Johnny's arm, which is really, really great to see. I love focused offense like that. Johnny, like I said, he gets these little blips. So Kushida kind of comes through the ropes and Gargano cuts him off and gets like a fluke neck breaker through the ropes. And there's, his opportunity to start working the neck. So he's going for the neck as much as he can. But again, he's Johnny Gargano. He's, in the way. He's kind of become this goofy parody guy. So he makes mistakes as well. So despite, his work focusing on the neck, he sees an opening to kick Kushida in the arm, which is one of Kushida's signatures, only to do, the time splitters kind of taunt that Kushida does, right? So again, just to go back to that goofy heel but in doing stuff like that, it allows Kushida to get back in the thick of things. The sequences these guys do together are just completely beautiful. They do like a great fish out of water spot that leads into a double clothesline. That brings Kushida back in, after Gargano's mocking of him, and he starts to roll with all of his signature offense. He gets, the cartwheel basement drop kick. He gets the fastball punch. He gets, the shout out to his trainer Tajiri with the buzzsaw kick. And again, he's countering everything that Gargano goes. Gargano knows at this point he needs those blips. He needs that signature offense, but he can't get it in. He goes for the slingshot spear, and Kushida blocks that, rolls through into a really swank-like bridging double hammerlock suplex for 2. He goes for the apron enziguri that he's known for, and Kushida cuts him off with the fastball punch. Gargano, gets thrown shoulder first into the post. At one point, he goes up to the top for something, and Kushida cuts him off, with the handspring into it, and follows him up top and goes for what I'm assuming was going to be the cross arm breaker off the top. But again, the blip. Gargano gets a counter, hits a big twister off the top rope, that Masaki Mochizuki style, like twisting suplex, but he hits it off the top, chains it into a tornado DDT on that bad neck for a great near fall for 2. They end up going back into, fast-paced sequences. They both hit La Mystica on each other. They both, use that move. They're countering and slipping out of, Kushida going for the hoverboard lock, Gargano going for the Gargano escape, and they keep countering out, which is really cool. Then we get another double clothesline, just again showing that these guys are, evenly matched, but Kushida's still that step ahead. Kushida goes back to the well once too often in his own right. He goes for the handspring elbow, and Gargano cuts him off with a zigzag. Finally gets the Gargano escape. Kushida is somehow able to turn that back into the hoverboard lock. We go back to a great pinfall exchange, and Kushida, and that ends up with Gargano, hitting the lawn dart, again, getting that blip. So instead of the double clothesline like before, he's able to persevere, stick through it, hit his big move. Can't follow up though. Kushida again has an answer for everything. Fires back with his own move into the corner with a hammerlock suplex into the buckles. And then the biggest spot of the match, he hits a big Spanish fly off the top, chains that into a cross arm breaker. Great, you know, near submission on that. Gargano ends up kind of rolling out to the floor, but Kushida, you know, keeps the armbar on him, just showing, you know, how badly he wants that win. And just like he did with the stairs earlier, Gargano in desperation goes to the dirty heel side and manages to throw Kushida into the plexiglass they have around, because this was still, you know, COVID era. Gargano at this point, you know, no pun intended, he needs to escape. So there's a great moment where he's kind of crawling on the big elongated, you know, old WCW style ramp to try to get away from his opponent to get to the ring. A great visual of Kushida, you know, being at the top of the ramp behind him and running down the length of the ramp to kick out the arm, you know, his signature that Gargano used to mock him earlier. So, you know, basically getting back at him for that, which was awesome. And he ends up grabbing the Kimura on the ramp. So, you know, trying to drag him into the ring with it, because he knows if he gets it in the ring, it's going to be all she wrote. And it leads to just one little opening as they're tied up in the ropes. Gargano is able to pull Kushida neck first into the ropes. Again, that neck that's been worked on throughout the contest. It allows Gargano to hit his slingshot one final beat DDT, but he hits it from the ring where he's in while Kushida's on the ramp. He hits it onto the ramp. It looks brutal. Legitimate finish there. Jams Kushida's neck on the hard ramp. Kushida rolls back in and Gargano hits it back the other way into the ring. There's no way Kushida's kicking out of that. The two back-to-back one final beat DDTs is enough to put him away. Gargano is lucky and escapes this match with his title still intact by the skin of his teeth. This match is great. I love, you know, we talk about finishes a lot in these videos, and, you know, this is one that, you know, comes out of nowhere, but it totally works in the overall context of the match. It goes back to the neck. It's the mistake. It's Gargano barely surviving, you know, defeating an opponent that outmatched him every step of the way throughout this match. It's really great. It's really compelling stuff. I love this match because there was zero interference. All of Gargano's matches at this point was riddled with interference. That was a complaint that myself and so many other people had. They dropped it here and they allowed two absolutely fantastic wrestlers to go out and have a long-form, fantastic match with each other at a time that NXT really needed it. I love this match. My next, you know, season after this, it's no surprise, it's going to be the top 50 matches of 2021. I would not be surprised to see this match make that list as well. It is that good. You can watch this match, of course, on Peacock. If you're outside of the US, you can watch it on the WWE Network. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.